This is my first time ever hearing about this brand, and they go by the name of Ace Gamer, and this is the C16, their latest telescopic controller. So we're just gonna jump right in. Of course, this one is already unpacked. The box will go over some of the features, the manual to make some adjustments, a Type-C to Type-A cable, and a replacement D-pad to rubber thumb caps. And this is what it looks like with having one installed on the controller. It's my first time ever testing an Ace Gamer product, and this one retails for $59.99 on Amazon US. It's probably sold elsewhere, but I couldn't find it. The face buttons are micro switch. The D-pad is tactile. You can replace the module with either a satellite style or a cross style. So are the bumpers. The triggers and sticks are Hall effect, and beyond the select, start, turbo, home button, you also have a capture and then something to change the RGB, because there is RGB on this controller, which we'll see when I plug it in. You also have two extra back buttons that you can remap, a USB-C. It is a telescopic controller. The USB-C also has swivel action. That's convenient to take in and out some devices. Which, talking about, we'll start with an Android with this Red Magic 10S, which I'll have a video out real soon for. Looks nice. It holds well. There is a little bit of room if you have a camera bump, and I'll show you what it looks like with 15 Max Pro Max, I'm sorry. But I do have a fairly bulky case. It doesn't sit as nice in the controller with the bulky case, but the USB-C sticks out quite a fair amount, so it still works. So if we start with the RGB, if you push here, you'll notice that the color around the rings changes. And whenever you push in a direction, the intensity on the opposite direction lights up. I think it's just an opening that happens in the plastic that just lets the light shine through a little more. We'll take the manual and see some of the settings and tweaks that you can do with this one. You know, it doesn't seem to work for some reason, but according to the manual, it is indeed a screenshot button. For example, right now, my back right button is mapped to B. You want to hold turbo with the button that you're trying to map for a couple of seconds. When it flashes, it's ready to receive more buttons. So we're going to push X and push it again. And now whenever I push, you'll notice that it does X instead. X, Y, B, A, and push it. Oh, it doesn't seem to work. Okay, so maybe it's just for one button. Let me try it again. I guess you can do two buttons at the same time, because right now I'm doing X and A. But it's not going to do a sequence. That's interesting. So it can lock multiple buttons on the back paddles, but not a sequence. So macro doesn't seem to be supported. Another thing you can do, of course, is turbo. So right now, if I push A, it behaves normal. But if I push turbo and push A once, turbo is now activated. If I push again, it becomes a toggle on and off. If I push a fourth time, it's gone altogether. You can address some effects on the RGB. So if you hold turbo and you push the lighting, it's going to change the mode. So for example, right now we have a rainbow, which looks quite nice. Actually, it's quite well executed. If we push it again, it removes it completely. If you hold turbo and capture for a couple of seconds, it's going to swap the layout. So it just flashed, let us know that it did. So now A, the bottom face button should now do B, and vice versa. So now it would be a Nintendo layout. Okay, we're back to normal. We have sticks and trigger calibration. For that, we want to do view, menu, and home for a couple of seconds. It should blink. Now it's ready. So we're going to turn the sticks a couple of times. Turn the other one as well a couple of times. Do the triggers a couple of times. And there you go. We are now calibrated. We can remove dead zones from sticks. So right now there's definitely a dead zone, but if we do turbo and click the right stick, dead zone is completely removed. If we do the same for the left stick, we can do that as well. We can address the vibration by doing turbo with left stick up or left stick down, which, by the way, we're working with a pretty cheap rumble altogether, very noisy haptics, and yeah, just noisy and obnoxious. And we also have a hair trigger right now. We can see that the triggers are analog, so they have the full gradual motion. If we hold turbo and menu for a couple of seconds, it should be flashing to let us know that now hair trigger is activated. Now, when I say activated, you still have the full range of your trigger, but you'll notice that it goes from 0 to 100 after pushing it at a certain amount. Now, there are modes on this controller, which I'll show you how to change in a second, but another thing is you have this here called Game Macro. And the manual doesn't say anything about being compatible with an app. This heavily implies that this is probably one of those dropship products. This is essentially the controller sending a Bluetooth signal, and this is probably a debug for a software to adjust the controller. And if I disconnect it, now that it doesn't have any power, you should see this game macro become disconnected. And there you go. And so that came from the controller itself, which means that there's probably an app out there that will be able to adjust the controller. To which extent, I couldn't tell you. If ever you happen to know which app this communicates with, let us know in the comment box. This is designed to be connected to a phone, but if you wanted to use it without a phone, you could. Now, if you plug it with a USB-C, this will not connect to a phone. And what I mean by that, to a PC, what I mean by that is the PC will not recognize it because this is just a charging pass-through. So if you have your phone and you connect this, it's going to charge your phone. But as long as you give it power, it can still work. What you want to do when you're in that mode is you want to hold home, and you'll notice that it's going to bring up Bluetooth and it's going to put in pairing. And doing that, you can connect to a PC, or the other method, which is the method that I'll be using today to test it, is using a USB-C female cable, and you just connect right here. And now your PC will see that as a controller. So whether you are on a phone or on the PC, here's how you want to change modes. But to do that, I'm going to connect the iPhone. And this is the iPhone 15 Pro Max that I was mentioning a moment ago. And so you can see the bulk doesn't quite fit, but it holds nice. It still works absolutely fine. Right now, whenever the LED is purple, this is the DualSense mode. And in that mode, Rumble will work fine on compatible games. Here's how you want to change modes, and this will work whether you are on an iPhone, on PC, or on an Android. You want to hold one of three buttons and then home. So X is going to be your X input mode, A is going to be your Android mode, and B is going to be your DualSense mode. So right now we're on the DualSense mode. If I hold X and do home, you'll notice the lights will go from purple to green. That means that we changed modes. And the X input mode works on iPhones, works on Android, works on PC, and lo and behold, it works just fine here. Rumble is working. If we want to change to Android mode, A and home, and now it's going to turn blue, and that mode doesn't work on iPhones. That is why the game just said, oh, wait a second, I'm not sensing a controller. If we do B and hold home, it's going to go purple, and that will be the DualSense mode. And all of a sudden, everything is back. I can now control my game just fine. And indeed, I also have Rumble working. When it comes to a DualSense controller, usually it has gyro. This controller doesn't. And it also doesn't have any specific features using the input on the Steam input. It feels decent, but you can tell that it is probably a cheap controller, most likely a drop shipping product. It just, doesn't feel the worst, but it doesn't feel the best either. There's nothing really special that comes through in the quality of the plastic. It sounds a little bit hollow, feels a little bit cheap. So let me go on PC and let's start some tests. There is no stick tremor, no stick snapping. Oh, look at that. No stick snapback. Circle error. That's all we have. We don't have a full corrected. With the dead zone removed, indeed, it's fair to say that there is no dead zone. Based off of the increments, I don't see any gap dead zone either. In outer dead zone, there's more than the average, but there's always a little bit. Stick tension sits at 55 TGF, and stick resolution is 0.0078. Diagonal focus, it's decent. I mean, it's the feeling. The feeling is kind of off, but when I'm like well positioned, it's actually quite good. Ooh, rolling test is not superb. It is not superb. These are not, I wouldn't think these are good quality tactile switches. This feels cheap. This is hard to roll. Adjacent direction. Yep, definitely feasible. Accidental input precise enough, I'd say. And left right is also quite good. Center pivot, not a proper one, but you do feel a little bit of flex, but it's not so much a pivot. I'd rather say that it's just the housing that flexes a little bit. And actuating from the center, I mean, yes, it's feasible, but it doesn't necessarily feel stable. There's a little bit of dead zone at the start of your trigger. Oh, the curve is not linear at all. Geez, I'm pushed almost half the way, and I'm not at all getting the value. I don't usually measure those, but this is very obvious. It's not linear at all. This is a very, very slow curve. As for the dead zone at the end, you don't really have any. Dampening, I think there's a very, very, very thin something, or maybe it's just a plastic that is a little bit smoother. It doesn't feel like I'm straight plastic on plastic, but it might just be the quality of the plastic that creates that effect. I'm not 100% sure. As for hair triggers, we have a software corrected, but other than that, we don't have a physical hair trigger of any kind. Okay, so I'm pretty sure they have a similar curve on the stick. Again, I don't test that, but I suspect that the sticks also have a slow ramp, which helps hide the quality of the sticks, but you'll see, especially during performance, why this is going to be a tough one. And contrary to what I usually do, I'm only going to stick to one attempt here. I have numbers to back this decision up, and you'll see why in a couple of seconds, well, minutes. Let's move to Street Fighter. Oh boy. No way. Oh my gosh. Okay. That is terrible. That is so... I think I know why, but yeah, this is next level bad. Jeez, let me try to change the module. And this is a tough D-pad. It's very, very sharp at the corners. We're just talking about a Hadouken. Yep. The face buttons do feel nice. The D-pad, it's a very audible controller. You hear like small, cheap sounding tick and tacks, but it works. It works. This is probably the better experience that I've had so far with this controller. I just missed the direction. That was okay. And run in particular, where the D-pad is basically forced into a four-way, so to speak. That's also a decent experience. So I guess, you know, for emulation, platformers, things that don't require too much complex use of your controller, it manages to do the job. It's not an absolutely terrible experience. As for the triggers, they're not unpleasant. They feel very floaty. If you don't mind the ramp, the curve, the slow curve that we have here, I think that is probably one aspect of the controller that ultimately shines a bit more than the rest of what this is. And they really do feel floaty. They feel nice. But I do expect if you are playing games where dialing it in is going to be something you want to do a lot, it might be hard just because you're working with such an unusual curve on triggers, at least by default. Maybe you fix it to be that way by yourself, but that's not what you want. That's what you're stuck with. All right. And for performance, the only mode I didn't test was the Bluetooth one, but it was very consistent across the board. When it comes to stick latency, whether I was on X input, D input, or the DualSense mode, it was way too high. Buttons were fine though. And when it comes to pulling rate, your X input modes pulls at 250 Hz, whereas the other modes on wired will do 125, and then Bluetooth, which I did test pulling rate, was not good at under 60 Hertz. And so I believe that's why they don't even mention that there's a Bluetooth mode in the manual, because they probably know that the performance is going to be bad. So it's probably more of a debug mode that you can still use in a pinch. So let's move to conclusion. As you may notice, we are the next day because I was having OBS issues the day before. So the C16 from Ace Gamer, would I recommend it? No. And before I go any further, I forgot to mention, this was sent for review. Of course, that has no impact on my opinions and no money changed hands. And yeah, back to what I was saying. Do I recommend it? I don't. At $59.99, this is outrageously expensive for what it offers. And that's not to say that it wouldn't have any redeemable qualities in the right hands for the right situations. Like if you're playing leisure kind of games, platformers, something where your sticks don't matter all that much. Sure, yeah, I can see how that works for $29.99 for half the price. At $59.99, this is you can get way better at that price range. You could get probably a G8 or even a G8 Plus on sale. You could get an absolute S9 or an absolute S8. There's a lot of options that you could get for that kind of price that would greatly surpass the C16. And that's really what it comes down to. Is it a great controller? No, it's not. I'm keeping it a buck. Are there areas where this can work in a pinch? Absolutely. And it's still nice that you have X input and a DualSense mode, which is, all things considered, not super common with these products. So having that ultimately gives it a little bit of a benefit. But again, I just keep going back to the price, not at that price point. It's just not worth it. You can find like the JK02 that I reviewed a couple of months back for like under 20 bucks. And it will easily rival what you have here minus the sticks. The sticks are actually a little bit better here. And maybe the price I'm seeing is not a reflection of what it's actually supposed to be retail, because when I look on Amazon, there's the name of a seller, which is not the name of the brand. I couldn't find any other listings on Amazon, and I couldn't find it on AliExpress. So, you know, if for some reason the price is different, I'll make sure to put a pinned comment with a link. So if the manufacturer provides me a different price that is steady with a link, I'll paste it. And so that is it, guys. This is my conclusion for the C16, a controller that could potentially be worth it if you find it for $29.99. Past that, skip it and wait till the next one. And so that is it. What are your thoughts on this product? Let me know in the comment box. Consider hitting the like if you enjoyed the video, and do subscribe to not miss any future ones. I'm Clef. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.